Hey, Molly, this is Nick Robinson. I was just checking to make sure my mic is working.
Yep, I can hear you just fine. Camera's good
Okay.
too.
Okay, great. I'll mute.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. The computer screen at my end here says it is 6 p.m. And I'm going to call to order the January 10th, 2023 meeting of the Town of Pittsboro Planning Board. I see we have a quorum with Ms. Alston, Mr. Schaefer, Mr. Carney, and Mr. Baker and Ms. Mize all online. So we can certify the quorum and dive right into adoption of the agenda. Can I have a motion, please, to either approve the agenda or to modify it?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Thank you. Ms. Alston moves. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Ray. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Very good. The agenda is adopted as distributed. We have two sets of minutes which were distributed for approval from the November 7th and December 5th meetings. I've been through them. I haven't really noticed anything wrong. Does anyone want to call attention to anything that needs to be changed before we put those 2 months minutes to bed?
I didn't see anything wrong.
Very good. I think we can have a motion then to approve the minutes for November 7th and December 5th. Do I hear a motion?
Carl Schaefer, so moved for both.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Second.
Freda Alston, second it.
Thank you, Ms. Alston. All in favor, aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
We have approval then. Now, moving on to old business, just two items before us. The first one, Ms. Phelps is going to present, and it's a minor deviation request to a matter which we had previously approved. So I'll turn it over to you, Janie.
Sure, thank you. I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right, can you all see the memorandum?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I know you all received kind of late, but it's very straightforward. This is a boat and RV site that was approved on May of 2020. So it was approved under the prior ordinance, and they're trying to get their CO. So I went out to do a final inspection, which I checked landscaping, lighting, any associated parking, which with storage there isn't. So in my inspection, there were some plantings missing. There were some on front, which Hunter said he's going to order those and put those ones in to meet that requirement. But he showed me the eastern side of the property, which is also adjacent to the Green Beagle Lodge, and they're unable to put landscaping there. There's a lot of large rock, and there's rock still further down. So it would be, from what I understand, cost prohibitive to drill in and essentially take out rock and bring in soil that would be suitable for landscaping. So I went through the old ordinance, and in that it states this use and the use of a dog boarding facility as a land use class 4. And when the land use classes are the same, they're not required to have a buffer in between, since they're both commercial and they're both going to be, essentially trafficked similarly. So their request is to not have to put in landscaping, which I'm classifying this as a minor deviation due to the land use classification and the adjacent use to it. If you all think otherwise, that's fine. That's something for you all to discuss. Otherwise, any discussion when you have or any questions, Hunter is also on the call if you have any questions for him. Otherwise, feel free to discuss, and I'm here to try and answer anything as well.
Any questions or comments from members of the board? This all seems pretty straightforward, and I can relate because I've tried to dig in my own yard, and it's impossible. I'm going to have to, I think, invest in the rental of a backhoe in order to get my shrubs in. But do we have any board comments or questions before I call for a motion to either approve or deny this minor deviation to SP 2019-10? Can I have a motion, please?
Carl Schaefer, I move to approve the minor deviation.
Thank you, Carl.
Frida Austin seconded.
Thank you, Frida. And all in favor, vote aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and so SP 2019-10 minor deviation request is approved. And now we move on to an item which we tabled at the December meeting so that some members could gather more information. And I know that at least Carl has walked the site. So I'll turn it over to Janie and then perhaps turn to Carl for some first person observations.
Okay, sure. So my part is going to be short this time since you've all had a longer time to review it. There
Right.
have some minor adjustments to it, mainly in the conditions area, just updating some language, nothing major. Let me go ahead and get to that page or those pages. The first one, which Nick Robinson had brought up, is this condition or this waiver, noted as number 3. Previously, it just said that the buffer on the northern boundary would meet the UDO requirements. And so they just wanted to clarify it and say that it's going to be a 20-foot buffer type C, and also in accordance with what the UDO requires. So something else I wanted to add on the staff side, because there's still, the reason this is a waiver is because they're not wanting to install buffers around the rest of the perimeter boundaries. So the eastern, western, and southern, because they're wanting to have some type of continuity in between the developments. So it's not common really for common uses like we just saw in the minor deviation to require a landscaping buffer. So if you all still want to approve it in that way, since they are similar uses, that's fine. Or you as a board can also suggest that they do have some type of landscaping buffer. So that'll be something for you all to discuss. The next one I have comments on is the waiver 5 for the lot and setback. And about that, which I've discussed with the applicant already, smallest lot size that we have currently in our UDO is 5,000 square feet. And they're proposing some lots, which are the townhome ones, to be potentially as small as 1,800 square feet. So again, this is all something for you to discuss. If you essentially approve the application as it's submitted with the conditions that the applicant has requested, then that's what's going to go forward to the board of commissioners. You can do that, or you can also recommend to amend some of their conditions or waivers if you think that would add more protection for the public, or just think that it would help develop it in a better sense. And the final one, which I had comments within the staff analysis that you all have seen, is this condition noted as number 6 in the recreation requirement. The applicant requests that if this greenway and or multi-use path is not on the subject property, that they want to have it within 1 mile of the boundary of the subject property. So staff has issues with this. I've also talked to Katie Keller, who's the Parks and Rec director, and about walkability. And in some of the training for certifications that I've had, it's been instructed to us that walkability is generally a half mile or someplace where you can reach amenities and what else was it? Someplace where you can like reach amenities within a half hour. So I did some basic GIS measurements of the property from east to west. It's only 0.1 or 0.63 miles. And then from north to south, it's only 0.48 miles. And then corner to corner, which it isn't that way across one of the corners because they have their special use permit in the top left corner, is about 0.8 miles. So again, this is something, if you go ahead and don't want to have any further discussion and just want to approve it as they've submitted it, then you're going to be approving the conditions as they have them in their application. But you are allowed to talk and discuss and recommend the changes. So I recommend again that it should be a half mile within the boundary of the subject property and not a full mile. That is all of the kind of updates I have. And the applicant is also here. I can't remember, sorry, Nick, if they had like a short presentation, but I know they were going to cover some stuff. And going back to Eric, when he brought up Carl going to the site, I think he was actually on the Chatham Park site, or he was on a different site for that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't think there's any.
Was I mistaken, Carl?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
I met with Robbie and Andy at Chatham Park with stormwater related issues, which I'll talk about
We
later.
talk about that during the board comment period, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Janie.
Yeah, so that's all I have. And so I'll go ahead and hand it over to Nick and stop sharing my screen so he can do as such if needed.
Okay, great. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, great. Yeah, my name's Nick Robinson. Thanks, Janie. Mr. Chairman and members of the planning board and the town staff. I'm Nick Robinson, practice here in Pittsboro at Bradshaw, Robinson, Slaughter, and Rayner, 128 Hillsborough Street. And again, I'm delighted to be here tonight on behalf of the applicant, 15501 West or East LLC, in this conditional rezoning request of the Malott property. As Janie pointed out, this is our second meeting on this conditional rezoning request. And at the first meeting, December 5, you all had not had much time prior to the meeting to review the materials. And so the matter was ultimately, as the chairman reminded us, understandably tabled to allow for a little more time for review. But still, at that December 5th meeting, we had a good fulsome conversation and meeting that night at which the rezoning was described. And a few requests for additional information were raised by members of the board, like, for example, connectivity for pedestrians and recreation, and traffic connectivity and roadway construction schedules. And then the possibility of any illustrative drawing that could convey what the neighborhood might look and feel like. And so we were hard at work after the December 5 meeting. And we took the time to create some additional materials specifically to respond to those requests that came up at the last meeting. And I know Janie forwarded those materials to you all for your review in advance of the meeting. And Robbie Oldham is online tonight, and he's going to walk you through those additional materials just very briefly, see if you have any questions about those, or if those were helpful to answer some of the questions raised at the last meeting. And hopefully those have been helpful to resolve some of those questions. And if not, feel free to jump in at any time with questions for Robbie. And of course, our goal with tonight's review is to hopefully come to the point where we can hopefully receive an affirmative recommendation from the planning board for an approval. So I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Robbie Oldham, Withers Ravenel, to walk you through some of this additional information, unless there are other questions out of the gate.
No other questions? It's all yours, Robbie.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, can make sure I'm sharing the correct screen. You have the one with the Chatham County tax map in front of you?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. So, yeah, I don't want to try to repeat or you know, what we covered before. I know I did a short presentation before. So really what I'm just trying to do is provide additional information. I know, you know, Mr. Schaefer, Ms. Mize, and Mr. Carney had some additional questions. So we, again, as Nick said, we provide some additional information during the holiday Christmas break, but then we also have, I've got 6 slides, really 5 of them are additional tonight. Now I'll just start with this one. This is what you had in the packet. And just really getting back, I do want to stress this one again, but you know, really what you see here surrounding this on 3 sides is Chatham Park. But what we did, this is, you know, we discussed this at the last meeting, but we want to talk about connectivity with the multi-use paths, the greenways that you see here in the green, and then the bike lanes you see here in the blue. Let me zoom in a little bit. So, and really just so you have that, a visual is so much easier. I mean, you can hear me talk about this, but if you're like me, I like having a visual in front of me and say, okay, here's the schedule for, you know, here's the greenways and what's going to look like. And again, this is just a Chatham County GIS base map. It's not very exciting, but we did want to provide you the information so you had it over the break and you can sit down and look at it. So, and we'll talk about connectivity a little bit later. We've got actually a new exhibit that looks a little better than this one. So, but then also I know it was a citizen concern, I think, that was brought up about the impact of traffic and what this would, you know, have, especially say downtown with, you know, 15501 being the primary corridor. So what we want to talk about, and the schedule was included in your packet, was really with Chatham Parkway. You know, so Chatham Parkway is built up to this point right here. There's a DOT project for Chatham Parkway North, which will extend it from this point north to 15501. Those projects, these are estimates. This is a DOT project, but based on the latest information we have from DOT, we're looking at a completion up to Grant Drive by, you know, in year 2025, and then from there out to 15501 the next year in 2026. In addition, Grant Drive is basically we're getting ready to try to start construction on Grant Drive and have it extended out to this Chatham Parkway alignment by the end of this year or first of next year. So basically in a year from now, we're hoping to have Chatham or Grant Drive extended out to here. So really the point is that, and then in addition to this is we talked about Chatham Parkway South. Chatham Parkway South is a long way from here, but you know, ultimately when Chatham Parkway North and Chatham Parkway South are built, it's going to serve basically as a bypass, you know, around downtown. I think all of you know that. So I just want to provide you with the latest schedule, and you may know this, but you know, the town of Pittsboro and DOT and Chatham Park have been working on this pretty much over the last year, and there's an agreement to accelerate the construction of Chatham Parkway South. And right now, that looks like it'd be completed in year 2027. Now, again, that's preliminary, it's a DOT project, but you know, by the time this project is built out, there's a good chance that we will have you know, Chatham Parkway will complete from 15501 South to 15501 North. Just to address that concern, and not just that, just to give you an update too. You know, I said last time, I think this is unique because a lot of infrastructure is already in place surrounding this site. We're coming in and doing rezoning, and really almost, you know, most time you do this up front and then you figure out how we're going to build the roads and the infrastructure. Just because of Chatham Park, a lot of this infrastructure is either under construction or very much in the works. The other update, this one is key, is since we last met, so we met on December 5th, I believe. The following Monday, the Chatham County School Board approved this site right here as a elementary school site. So, you know, that doesn't change what we're proposing in this rezoning because we've got a school use in there, but we also, you know, until we had approval from the school board, you know, we also had condition in there for, I think, single family, some other uses. So, but that is, and we included again this in your packet, but we did want to make sure, and we noted that in the notes that this was approved by the school board on December 12th. So let me move to the next slide. So what we did is, again, try to provide you something. I mean, Charity or Ms. Mize, raised a good question. Say, what will this look like? So we took some time, again, over the break to basically take the latest Chatham Park illustrative plan, which you see here surrounding, and then just add in, crop in what the Malott track here, which is shown in this purple outline here. I'll zoom in on this, but this just gives you an idea. I mean, everybody would rather look at something like this. Again, this is illustrative, subject to change, but it gives you an idea of what this could develop. And we'll go into some more site-specific developments with MR1 and MR2 here in a second. But this shows just these two projects up here to the north. This is under construction. Again, we talked about this last time. This is the restricted age target community, same here. This is the latest layouts we're working. This is under design right now, preliminary design. And then what we did here is we sketched in, this is just a conceptual site plan of what the school site could look like. Don't want to speak for the school. Chatham Park is in discussions with the school, and this just gives you a concept of what this could look like. And just to provide you an overview of how this could develop or likely develop with these adjacent, development within Chatham Park. So what we're going to do now, this is the MR1 we have within Malott, MR2. MR3 is, we're proposed as a town park site. And then, of course, MR4 now, we can safely say that we're anticipating that being a school site, or at least, if not all of it, a portion of it will be a part of the school site. So next slide, what we did, and again, this was in your packet, but this provides a little bit more color and illustrative to it. This is MR1 site with, and what we're proposing here is basically a mix of townhomes and single family residential. So I think, again, Ms. Mize had asked about, what does this look like, feel like? And I think she was, more concerned probably with MR2, which we'll talk about that in a second. But it just so happens that Vineyards West, when I started looking at densities on this, we're proposing a max density of MR1 of 4.5. Well, I guess in Vineyards West, which is pretty much built out, that is the density that's on the ground out there is 4.5 dwelling units. And really the size is similar too. I mean, this area is a little bit bigger, but that's not the point. It's really the density. So when you look at a mix of townhomes and the single family here, this is basically what this development would look like in this MR1 pod here. Second part of this is more probably the question that a lot of people have is when we get into MR2, multifamily is allowed in MR2, which means basically apartments. So what we did, this is just, again, a concept of, what could this look like? And you see these buildings here, what we'd anticipate with this would probably be three-story apartment buildings, 4-story max in here, and then surrounded by single family and townhomes in here. And really just want to point this out, and I think I talked about this last time, is that we're proposing a max of 10 dwelling units per acre. With the town's UDO and the multifamily use, the town UDO allows up to 20 dwelling units per acre. So with our cap of 10 dwelling units per acre, I mean, it's going to preclude any high-rise type, structures in there. So really, this here, I mean, if you just did townhomes alone, you're looking at 8 dwelling units per acre. So yeah, it looks like a lot of development, but in overall urban settings, doing 10 units per acre is not, that high of a density. This also shows, again, the town park site here. We really don't have any concepts or layouts on that just because it's so preliminary. So this exhibit, again, talked about connectivity. So what we did, and we provided some in your packet, we provided the greenways and multi-use trails. This provides a little bit more color, but talk about this just real quick. The green lines here, this is the greenways. And again, we've got so we have a greenway trail connecting all the way to the Mosaic. We'll have a 10-foot multi-use path along the north side of Grant Drive, all the way out to Chatham Park, Chatham Park Way. And to me, this is a big deal, especially for the town and DOT. They are proposing a 10-foot multi-use trail on both sides of Chatham Parkway. So Ultimately, then there'll be a 10-foot multi-use trail getting all the way down into the village center south here. But the key is that there will be a 10-foot trail from, this development, whether, multi-use on Greenway to go all the way over to Mosaic, or to come back to Chatham Parkway and eventually go south. And again, we're proposing, you see the Greenway loop here, back out to a multi-use trail here. So this is what we're anticipating, as well as the blue or bike lanes that are already built. We are extending bike lanes along Chatham Parkway. I think I talked about this last time. There's been a little bit, Granite Drive, this was designed, it's been years ago, and we were looking at more bike lanes then, but since then, DOT's come back, and instead of having bike lanes within the, the street travelways, there's, a lot more people want to take those facilities and put them basically outside the travelway, which is why they're doing the multi-use trails separate on Chatham Parkway. Instead of having dedicated bike lanes, they're doing 10-foot multi-use trails. So we will have bike lanes here all the way up, and then they'll be able to use the multi-use trails along Chatham Parkway. And then full circle, this is the last slide. This brings us back to our original illustrative, master plan that we submitted, and that's in your packet. I did want to note the only change that Janie had mentioned this earlier is that we have committed and added a 20-foot buffer type C perimeter along the north. And really, that was a condition that we had in the original application. But the point out is that if that would be a 20-foot is required in the UDO for multifamily use. If it's single family use, there is 0 buffer required. So what we've decided, we just feel like that we'll go above and beyond and say, okay, regardless if it's multifamily or single family, we're proposing a 20-foot buffer type C, and we're making that a condition in this application. That was the change that Janie had mentioned there. And Nick may have some other comments to make about that. Finally, I know Mr. Carney, Mr. Schaefer did have some comments or questions, regarding stormwater and erosion control. So I was able to meet with Mr. Schaefer yesterday out on, site. We talked about the conversion of, operation and conversion of stormwater control measures versus erosion control measures. So he can speak to that if he would like, and I'll be glad if any questions remain on that. So with that, I'll stop and turn it back over to Nick.
Real quick, Nick, before you start, I want to go back real quick to the dwelling units per acre. Because like Robbie mentioned with the MR, you can go up to 20 units per acre. So Robbie, is the 10 dwelling units, is that just your overall density for the entire project, or for just the MR?
No, yeah, good question.
Like,
It's just for the MR2, Janie. So that is the 10 dwelling units. These other ones, MR4, we had at 4 units per acre. MR1, I think, you saw it was 4.5 dwelling units per acre. So our overall, I've got it, I'll pull it up. Our overall was like 6.5 units, dwelling units per acre. And that is a condition. I mean, that's not what we're saying we're showing. That is what we're committing to.
Which condition is that?
I'm saying it with these max dwelling units, it's a condition.
Yeah, as depicted on the site plan that you'll approve there. It'll have those limitations, already does have those limitations included.
Let me zoom in. And that's the reason with this, Janie, we're committing to a maximum units based on this 240 max units here, 646 here, and then 54 on MR4.
Okay, I think just clarify and make sure everything's together, I would like to add it in as a condition and have it just kind of in an outline sort of format. You're all okay with that?
Yeah, for sure. We can add a condition that says that the maximum density in MR1 will be, I think Robbie said, we'll get these exactly right, 4.5. And then MR2 is maximum 10. And then MR4, I don't remember what Robbie said there, but
I think it's 4, but it's either, Nick, and it's either we do a density or we just commit to a maximum number of units like we've got on this
yeah.
illustrative plan. So, and that's, we can talk through with Janie about that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
When you're saying 4.5 dwelling units per acre, is that including sidewalks and roadways and things like that in that acre allotment?
Yes, that is a gross
Okay.
density. That is correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So Janie, if you look at MR2 in that box that he has on the screen, 646 maximum dwelling units on 64.6 acres. So that's exactly 10 units per acre. So we can do the math either explicitly or implicitly from this chart.
And what about MR3?
MR3 is the park site, right, Robbie? So
It is. So, and we're proposing as a park site. We did not include a max number of dwelling units, but we have other uses allowed. We can look at that. To me, I mean, if we need to, I'd probably let Chuck come in on that if we need to come in there and decide. I mean, to me, we could do the same thing, but assuming it's a park site, then we do not need to include a density on it.
Janie, does Carl here, does that MR3 that Robbie just described, does that negate your comment, item 6A about the half-mile distance or not?
Well, that's what they're proposing for right now. So the way I read it and interpret it is that it, depending on what happens when they actually, I know they've walked the site some, but when they actually get down into the ground, something could change and they need to make some adjustments, because it does say that if they can't put it on site, then they want to put it within a mile. So
yeah, so Mr. Schaefer, I can respond a little bit more to that as well. So if they do a park site there, we're pretty certain that the park site there inside the lot is going to satisfy all the requirements of the rec and open space that would be necessary. But if for some reason that we can't anticipate now, it were not, then what we originally asked for a condition that we get credit for open space and rec areas that were within a mile. And Janie previously requested and suggested that maybe that could be better reduced to a half a mile. And we're more than happy to make that change right now from a mile to a half a mile, and just include that in the relevant condition, which I can tell you exactly which condition that is.
this is the one numbered 6.
6, yeah. So you could just change that word in the last line from mile to 1/2 mile, and we would be well pleased with that.
So Janie, when we make a motion, if and when we make a motion on this, are these statements made by Mr. Robinson, are they to be added to the motion as amendments, or how best do we handle that?
Yeah, it would just be whoever wants to make the motion. You'll say that you approve the conditions and waivers with exception to, and whatever ones you want to amend or change. Or you
Okay,
can make a motion to, approve it as is, as it's been submitted, and then move forward that way.
okay.
Also, Janie and Mr. Schaefer, I've got up on my screen a Word version of the conditions with that change already made in it, which I would be happy to share if we need to at the time when you're getting ready to do a motion. And maybe we could just include that in the record and have that be the list of conditions that you all would potentially approve.
Does that sound good to you, Janie? If Mr. Robinson does that and that becomes the version that I sign?
Yeah, that's fine, and I can update it on my end as well. I don't think they're actually explicitly in the I don't think they're actually on the consistency statement. Yeah, no, they're not on the consistency statement, but they will be available for the applicant to sign if the Board of Commissioners approve it.
Janie, when you asked me to submit the application with the revised conditions in it a few days ago, I did resubmit that. In the version that I submitted has the conditions the way we've discussed them tonight, including the reduction from a mile to a half a mile. So if that's accessible to you, I'm sure you could pull that up too.
Oh, it still says 1 mile on mine.
Yeah, not the one. Okay, well, I've got it up on my screen, and I'd be happy to pull that up if you want me to.
Yeah, that's fine if you want to.
Oh, okay, sure, I'll do that.
Janie, Carl here again, just another administrative question while he's looking up his document. They maybe either Robbie or Nick or both made the statement that the plan, it's not a site plan, I think, per se, but showing the 10 and 4.6 dwelling units per acre. One of them referenced that would be, I guess, included as a condition. So mechanically, how do we incorporate that into a motion?
It would just be you would just say then to add the condition about the dwelling units. So, and again, going back on that and just thinking about it more, they did have, the acres and the max dwelling units. I guess you could do it either way. You could say they have a max dwelling unit and these are going to be the dwelling units per acre, or you can just say, this is the size of this area and these are the max dwelling units. Since they differ between each of those kind of phases is what they're showing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is,
maybe, if I could intervene just for a second, maybe a good way to do that would be if you planned on making an affirmative recommendation, that your recommendation to the Board of Commissioners would be that the list of conditions includes a condition that incorporates the maximum densities as shown on the bubble plan. And then that way, before we get to the Board of Commissioners, we can spruce it all up and get it to read exactly right.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that it's clarified to you all as well. Being honest, obviously, I've worked with Nick before in Chatham County doing stuff there. I didn't do a lot of subdivision, but to me, when I see that a dwelling unit is on a certain number of acres, to me, that doesn't necessarily say dwelling units per acre. It says within this area, we can have this many, we're going to put this many dwelling units. And obviously there's different lot sizes that you're all talking about too, and potentially, you're making a recommendation on. So that's why I just said you can clarify it even further. You can say both of them that these are the max dwelling units in addition to having only 10 units per acre. Or whatever it is for each of those sections, if that kind of clarifies what I was trying to say.
I think it does. I'll ask Nick and Robbie, if we state maximum dwelling units as per your map, is that a satisfactory terminology for y'all to work with?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board member questions for either Mr. Oldham or Mr. Robinson?
Carl here still again. And this next question statement is not relevant to, I don't think, our decision tonight at all, but the Chatham Parkway, once it extends north off of Grant Drive, is still shown going through the east section of those properties that have been talked about for the last 2 or 3 years about the routing of that. I'm just curious where that stands. If anyone, if that is totally determined now, or if that's still an unknown.
Janie, would you like me to comment?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Robbie.
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Shaver, yeah, that's my understanding. I mean, that, that they went back and forth, I think, with the, town board and with some of the neighbors, but my understanding is that DOT has finalized alignment. They looked at all, they looked at like 7 or 8, maybe 9 alignments, but they have finalized that alignment is my understanding. The DOT has.
Okay. And, really the reason I ask is it will, if it did move, it would affect the areas in these, each of these polygons y'all have shown here.
And you actually, that just reminded me, I didn't bring this up, earlier, but when we did the original, or the rezoning for the northwest pod of Malott, a year and a half, it might have been 2 years ago, but we originally included part of this area, MR2 and MR1, but because of Chatham Parkway alignment was still not finalized, we actually revised the application, after talking with town and town staff, and basically just stopped the rezoning at the stream that runs through the site, just for that very reason. But probably within, 6 months after that, which was last year, we, DOT did finalize that. So we feel pretty confident that that's the alignment, at least based on what DOT has told us.
Eric,
Yes.
I have two concerns, and really they don't deal that much with this issue, but I wanted to make sure I brought them up.
Mhm.
And one concern is calling Chatham Parkway a bypass. That speed limit on that's 35 miles an hour, and there's going to be multiple roads coming into that bypass that serves all the new developments. So I would consider their name Chatham Parkway correct. The bypass sort of bothers me when I hear it. And my second point in this application, or in the paperwork we received, they're talking about the Chatham Park being the setter for the changing of the rules and regulations. In other words, it's item number 3, rezoning required and changes of conditions. Well, with that, I think they have about 8,300 acres. I can be wrong on that, and I've heard statements where there's more land than that out there. If that's the case, every time we end up with something coming in front of the planning board, if they put this information in there, all we're going to do is be expanding the conditions for the rezoning. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure.
So I guess what I'm saying is that this development's being surrounded by 3 sides by Chatham Park, so I can understand
Right.
it and I wouldn't vote against it because of that. But there's people out there in the country that's going to be surrounded by Chatham Park or other developments that are coming in because of. And we're going to change conditions because of what's happening. So I think we're going to just see this continue and get larger and larger and larger as years go by. So I just wanted to make sure I made that comment.
Okay, that's understood. Thanks, Ray. Anything further by way of questions specific to Res 2203, the Malott rezoning? And if not, then I'll ask for a motion either to approve with the conditions we've discussed or to reject. Do I have a motion?
Carl here. I move that we approve with these conditions attached. That the recreational facility as outlined in Janie's memo, item 6A, be stated at 1/2 mile maximum. That the density, that the maximum dwelling units in location MR1 is 240. That the maximum dwelling units at site MR2 is 646. And that the maximum dwelling units at site MR4 is 54.
Do we have a second to Carl's motion?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Ray. Ray Carney seconding. All right, we'll have a vote. All in favor of approving this Malott rezoning, vote aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? All right, rezoning approved. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thanks all very much.
Thank you to the applicants, and thanks for especially the graphic representation which you prepared. That really helped me grasp what you were talking about. Pictures are always better for me. I'm a visually oriented learner.
Same here.
Very good. Moving on to planning department updates. Janie, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Not really a lot going on. We advertised for another planner one position, and we've sent the offer to someone, so just waiting to hear back. Let's see. As far as the sewer situation, we still don't have 100%, I guess, a direction that we're going. It sounds like we might try and do the line first and then the station later, maybe. But they're continuing discussions with that. The land use plan update, that's getting extended again, but not for much longer. We are nearing the end. We have a fourth steering committee meeting on January 19th, and that's going over the draft plan that we have, at least most of it. And we also have the Partners for Green Growth Grant, which is working with the state and wildlife. So it'll really have a better beefed up conservation section to it that can hopefully get us closer towards doing a comprehensive plan, maybe getting that started this year or sometime next year in-house. And then there is another thing. Oh, we're moving our offices as well. So still not building a town hall, but we're moving to, I keep on forgetting the name of it. Well, I can probably remember. Main Street Station downtown with the water tower above and to the right of the YMCA. So we're doing that at the beginning of February. So we'll be located over there now. Oh, and the town manager. So our interim, Hazen Blodgett, he will be leaving at the end of the month. I believe they're talking to another potential interim tomorrow to come on board. Not sure how long yet or what their work schedule will be like or if they'll even accept it. So we're supposed to be getting a new interim manager, and then they've also re-advertised already for a town manager. At our meeting today, they said they had 16 applicants already and over 100 views. So hopefully, fingers crossed, in another 6 months, we'll actually have someone accept it and come on board, but that still kind of lays in the balance.
Very good. Thanks, Janie. Moving on to board comments. Carl, did you want to share some of your observations on the walkabout that you and Robbie did?
Yeah, briefly, really, it mainly boiled down to my lack of understanding of the segregation of how these stormwater features are designed and operated currently versus what I recall from 5 or maybe even 10 years ago. Robbie explained that they have a stormwater specialist, Andy, I forget his last name, that they hired out of town of Cary. And he did stormwater there for 30 years. But the summary and the bottom line is it was fully explained to me, and my concerns were alleviated with the situations that I was seeing. It has to do with the phases of construction and how they will operate this thing once they get, for example, if you go into the new residential area, depending on where you are, there may be 50 to 150 homes that will be a sort of a mini watershed that will feed one stormwater control structure. And once those areas are completely built out and sod and grass has been planted, and they had a lot figure like 95%, I forget what it is, but once those areas are built out, then those stormwater ponds will be operated to full level, which is what I was expecting them to be operated basically from the get-go. And that's not the case at all. That's not even a regulatory requirement. So anyway, that's it in a nutshell. I was, yeah, I was very pleased by what I learned, and I don't have any further concerns about it now.
Well, thanks very much, Carl. I know this all falls within your professional expertise, and we appreciate you sharing your time and your opinion on that. So, any other board comments that anyone wants to bring forward?
I just have one. I've had some questions. I know they're getting ready to start working on the sidewalks coming from downtown all the way up. And they have surveyed, and they've got like survey poles in the yards, like way up to a lot of the houses. And they're asking me why, if are they trying to take part of the land or what is going on? And I told them I don't know, because I haven't heard anything about anybody taking them trying to use part of the land to do the sidewalks.
Right. I don't know. I don't know, Frida. I know that when surveyors are out, they put a lot of stakes and flags in the ground that don't necessarily define where the sidewalks are going to be. They're indicative of property lines. Jamie,
Right.
do you know anything further about the sidewalk construction?
No, I don't. That would be probably talking to Morgan DeWitt. She would know better. She's in the engineering department.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's part of the 15501 widening, then I know that they already had something worked out. Apparently, I've had the woman, Sarah Donaldson with State Farm up there on Hillsborough Street. She's already contacted me saying that she's probably going to have to end up moving her office location. So it's something that's been in the works for quite some time, from what I understand. But if you want some more concrete details, then definitely reach out to Morgan DeWitt with the engineering department.
Okay, yeah, because my understanding was that the sidewalk is going on the left side, not the right side, which is, they surveyed the right side, and that's where I think it's a lot of older people, and they're just not sure, and they are confused, and that's the reason why I think I got the questions, because I live in the area, so that's why they're asking me.
Do you, Frida, would you like to have the town engineer contact you and answer your questions? Shall we?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, we'll ask that be done.
All right, thank
Any
you.
other comments or questions from the board before I request a motion to adjourn?
Just one quick one, Eric.
Yeah, go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, the reason I brought it up on that Parkway and that the traffic, I think it was Thursday or Friday of last week, was all the way past Food Lion. And we're not even at a build up. We got another development. It's a Robinson's Walk going down on that
Yeah.
end. So, and then when you drive up that Parkway, it's only 35 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could possibly call it a bypass or a traffic removal, I guess.
Right.
So,
Well, I'm sure the state DOT will get involved with setting the appropriate speed limits, and whether or not it's changed in its name from Parkway to bypass. I'm not sure what the mechanism for that is, but your point is taken, particularly with regard to the traffic congestion approaching the courthouse circle.
I just wanted to make sure some of the developers know about my thoughts.
Yeah, point well taken. Thank you.
If I could make a comment,
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Eric,
Yeah, go ahead,
if
Bill.
I could make a comment, one thing seems to instigate that holdup is the red light. When you go north of the circle, that red light, if it turns, there's any amount of traffic, it'll back people up around the circle, and then everything backs up.
You're talking about the light that's at
Or
Salisbury
if that-
Hillsborough. Yeah.
Yeah, right there by the Sunoco station or the I can't think of the name of it now.
Oh,
there's
Right up there by the bank, but that red
Red
light,
light, yeah, that's Salisbury Street.
Salisbury Street.
Yeah.
if we could get that red light turned to a blinker or something during rush hour,
Yeah.
it would
Even
make a big difference, because when somebody stops for that red light, the traffic backs up all the way around the circle, then that in turn backs up all four directions.
Yeah, I've seen that
But
happen.
nobody can go
I
nowhere
know
because
exactly
the
what you
circle
mean. I've
blocked.
seen that. Yeah, good point.
But we have a lot.
It might be an idea would it be right to have somebody approach DOT to do a survey of that thing, or maybe change the timing on it or something?
Janie, would that also be a question for the town engineer, the traffic light that's at Salisbury and Hillsborough Street?
Yes.
I will make that call tomorrow morning, Bill.
I'd appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks, Ed.
absolutely. Anything else here before we call for adjournment? If not, then may I have a motion?
I make a motion that we're adjourned for the night.
Ms. Alston moves, who seconds?
I'll
Second,
I think I heard Bill come in there first, and so we'll call for a vote. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
aye.
We stand adjourned. Thanks very much,
Good night,
everybody.
Al.
Have a
Thank
great night, everybody.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Night.